You're watching Herald Now, and it was a busy week on the international stage for our politicians. We had Luxon at APEC and Winston in the Nordics, and plenty happening back home with Labour's leaks and the capital gains tax announcement. Now, with Parliament back in session this week, attention turns to the week ahead. New Zealand Herald's political editor Thomas Coughlan is with us with more. Good morning, Thomas. How would you rate Luxon's time in APEC? He's pretty much fresh off the plane. Out of 10, how'd he go?
Gosh, out of 10, that's putting me on the spot. I think he had a pretty good week at APEC. It's a really big talking shop for us, APEC. Basically, it's 21 countries. They're some of the largest, or economies. They talk about economies rather than countries at APEC. Some of the largest economies in the world: China, the US, even Russia's sort of part of that group. And it's a really good opportunity to get in the room with these people and kind of press New Zealand's interests. You don't get those opportunities in other parts of the kind of multilateral world. Places like the UN, they're so big that New Zealand sort of gets lost. So I think he did quite well. I think that Trump meeting clearly went very well. Trump is a famously mercurial person. So sort of being able to meet Trump and not walk away with a sort of a repeat of the Zelensky situation is certainly a victory. But the proof of the pudding is always in the eating, and it doesn't look like, at least in the coming years, while Trump is still in the White House, that there's much upside for New Zealand in terms of the global trading environment. And that is concerning, but that is not something that Christopher Luxon could really be expected to change. It is just an annoying and frustrating fact of our lives at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the shots, he's rubbing shoulders with some of the most powerful leaders in the world, and then here he is from little old New Zealand. But do the conversations they have on the sidelines to make friends amount to much, or is it just about, a little bit like he said with Xi Jinping, kind of reminding them that we're here?
Yeah, I think it's. I think both of those points are correct. It's a sad fact of life being the New Zealand Prime Minister that you do. Part of your job is reminding other people that we're here. It is. We are a small country, and we're pretty realistic about that. You do need to be in the room, though. These places like APEC, they are quite important in discussing the international trading architecture. And if that goes south, then New Zealand really needs to be in the room to be able to press our interests. The comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, the CPTPP, the architecture of that was agreed at an APEC conference a few years ago. So it's big agreements like this, or the final parts of that were agreed at an APEC conference. The big things that really affect us often come out of these conferences, so you really need to be in the room. The other thing, and I think Christopher Luxon actually made this point, is it's important just to remind people, we're here, remind people of our interests, and that means that if something really bad does happen, that these people know who Christopher Luxon is, and he can pick up the phone to them and say, like, we're not happy about this, or we think this should happen, and you're only able to get your foot in the door if they know who you are.
Yeah, I was laughing because you will not be the first nor the last to trip over the CPTPP. They really need to come up with a friendlier acronym. To the week ahead, Parliament is in session. What's on the agenda?
Yeah, Parliament's in session. We've got a post-cabinet press conference today. The big thing hanging over Parliament this week is I suppose the reaction to Labour's capital gains tax announcement. The capital gains tax has been difficult for Labour in the past. It doesn't poll terribly anymore, but in the past it has come under scrutiny for details. Labour leaders have struggled to explain the details. So it'll be interesting to see whether, now you've got all of the opposition, all the government together in Parliament, whether the government puts a wee bit of pressure on Labour to explain how that tax will work and is able to come up with some arguments, some fishhooks about why it should not be implemented. So it's quite an interesting session of Parliament this week, because it's really the first session since Labour went into opposition that Labour is in the hot seat and Labour's having to defend something rather than the government. So that'll be quite fascinating. An
interesting week ahead. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Thomas Coughlan, the New Zealand Herald's political editor. Well, we need to talk about the rugby.